This is Gateway City Sports.
It's a trap!
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is the Team of Rivals podcast.
Everything you want to hear from the big sports to the big screen.
He's all by himself, fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No! Vaughn into the windup and is first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
He doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
Time winding down. Michael for three. Yes! She is gone! I don't believe what I just saw. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. You believe in miracles? Yes!
You may fire when ready.
What?
Cubs and Cardinals fans, welcome to the Team of Rivals podcast, proud members of the Gateway City Sports Network, where you can find great podcast and blog content. It's the weekend of the London series, and you should see Ron's face right now. He knew this was coming. You could see, even as he pointed to me in the camera, that he was not looking forward to this. He begged, he pleaded this week, please don't do it, but he knew, of course, that I could not say no. You can follow us on social media at Team of Rivals Pod, or find us online at teamofrivalspodcast.com. For those of you who prefer to watch the show, we also post to YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. So hit the like and subscribe buttons and be sure that notifications are on so that you know anytime we post new content. I'll forego the usual monologue because I want to get right into driving Ron insane and getting his full reaction. I don't want to keep that from you, our faithful listeners. So joining me for this week's show, co-founder of the Team of Rivals, number 125 in the 2022 edition of the Top Cards on Twitter, Ron Nuttall. Not with us this week. Permanent occasional guest host.
That's a fresh of breath air.
Yes, he's not here. And frankly, he doesn't care because, as we found out previously and found out in the last 2 weeks, Elliott does not listen to the podcast. He just appears on it. He doesn't care about quality. He doesn't care about doing air checks to see where he can improve. He just throws it out there into the ether and lets the chips fall where they may. Ron, your team is 9 games out of first place. The Cubs have the potential of finishing the weekend after their series in London with the Cardinals. They could theoretically be in second place in this dreadful division. Ron Nuttall, how are you today?
I actually totally forgot you were going to do this. I really did until I heard it. Well, I don't know. You know, I've kind of forgotten about this series that was going to happen, and you know, went about my way during the week. We've had guests from out of town in for like the last 4 days, so haven't been paying much attention to anything. There were a couple city games that happened, but this one, I mean, for as long as it's been, you know, telegraphed that this one's coming up, it's still, I kind of forgot about it over the last week or so. So I was kind of catching up tonight, and I got to tell you, the shame is that these two teams aren't in better shape right now as this series is happening. The Cardinals playing
the way that it was the first time they did this, and it was the Yankees and the Red Sox, and they were both quite good.
Yeah. Well, now you've got two. You've got the third worst team as the standings sit today against teams
in all of Major League Baseball.
Yeah. Well, sure, but it's lost, I guess, luster in my opinion, and it's a shame that a rivalry this one isn't more competitive this year. You know, it would make the series, I think, a little bit more attractive to well, to me at least. I can't speak for everybody else, but I don't know. I guess the crowd, I could have a crowd up to 60,000 people. That's quite a bit. I didn't realize that stadium could hold that many, or if that many fans bothered to attend. That's the Yankees-Red Sox, man. You got to wonder from a perspective over the ocean, how familiar are most with baseball, and you would think that the Yankees are probably a team that most people that live in the UK, knowing if they knew nothing about baseball, could probably say the New York Yankees are a baseball team in America. I don't know. I mean, Cubs, maybe. I don't know. They just don't know about this rivalry. They could have known about the Red Sox and Yankees. Don't know how popular this one's going to be. So, boy, I sound really excited about this weekend, don't I?
You do. You sound thrilled. Absolutely gobsmacked.
Nope. I'll watch it, though.
You know, it does seem to me that Major League Baseball hasn't done quite the same job of promoting this series as they did when it was the Yankees and Red Sox. And I understand we're not talking about two first place teams. We're talking about two teams that have dreadfully underperformed this year. So why would you push it and try to get people excited about it? But I also, it seems to me that it feels rushed, right? The two teams, they only play 2 games over the weekend. They're in and out. Their last games were played on Wednesday because today was essentially a travel day. Tomorrow will be rest and recuperation, and then they're in Saturday, Sunday, and then they're back on the planes and out. So it seems somewhat ridiculous that you wouldn't dedicate more time to this.
If you're going to do this the whole time, this may be the shortest episode we ever record and release. I'm not sure I can do it. Okay. Replaying that all. Yes. I guess I forgot it was only 2 games. And then they need that 2 days off prior, right? So at least they're early, and at least this time around, I don't have anything on this weekend happening. There's nobody here, no plans, so I can probably catch it. But if it's been going like it has lately, I could very well find something else to do, because I can always go back and watch it. Now, is this an Apple TV one?
I can check for that, because I know that I do have it. I will tell you, Saturday's game isn't actually all that early. It doesn't.
It's 1 o'clock.
First pitch is
1 o'clock my time.
Isn't until right. So that's a normal start time. However,
Cardinals seem to play a ton of 7 o'clock games on Saturday. Just how their schedule is put.
You're right. For Cubs fans, it's not particularly early. But Saturday's game, the first pitch is at 9 a.m.
Yeah, at 10 o'clock here. That one, which I'm fine with, you know. There's probably a better chance that I watch a 10 a.m. game right now than I do a 7 p.m. game on a Saturday or Sunday. It doesn't matter. I usually have something different that I want to do on weekend nights, and I don't want to watch Pittsburgh and St. Louis or Washington and St. Louis or anybody. But you know what? Pretty much, let's be fair. I don't want to watch anybody in St. Louis on a Saturday night.
You have better things to do.
Yeah.
Including sleep.
Even the MLS
So for
team.
your information, Saturday's game is on Fox. And Sunday's game is on ESPN.
Okay.
10 a.m. your time on ESPN. It should be a real thriller.
Maybe I've missed it, but where's the hype machine around this one? I really haven't seen it. I've seen an Instagram ad or 2 pop up over the last month, but I haven't heard a lot about this one, man. You know, and I don't sit there and watch ESPN anymore. So I don't know how much it's being promoted on there, or I haven't seen a single advertisement on Fox, just even like the local, Fox station. So,
and I would agree. I would say in my social media feeds, whether it's RSS feeds, websites, Twitter, Instagram, so on and so forth, there hasn't been a lot in. I mean, even among dedicated Cubs bloggers and Twitterers and so forth. Nobody seems particularly caught up in this, and I don't know if it's because of the quality of the teams, but it's more like, oh, by the way, they're going to London. Ron, for those of you who are listening to this after the fact, Ron is clearly seriously reconsidering his life choices right now.
I'm considering our loyal listeners what they are thinking.
I think they're enjoying themselves,
Uh-huh.
Pip.
Where's our guy at for this? Oh, he has people visiting. His visitors.
That's right. Their bedroom is his office. In which case, I would say, I'm sorry, but you're my guest, and you can go to sleep when I'm done.
Yeah. I think
No?
that's actually a good compromise. Or sleep behind me while I do my show.
Right. Because nobody's going to see it, and we're used to odd things going on in the background of Elliott's feed, whether it's audio or video. So, I mean, be par for the course.
So I got to go back to something like a couple episodes ago. You said that you didn't know what I played before our regular intro. You're like, I don't know what the hell that was. Were you being serious, or were you just like, it was John Mozeliak mashup?
Yes,
For those that missed,
cultural frame of reference whatsoever.
For those that missed, hang on.
I'd ask from our fan base right now is a little bit of patience.
Lies!
So just be patient.
Deception!
I really just ask for people's patience in all of this.
Every day, more lies!
There was some Bollywood soundtrack that you were playing there, something that maybe you picked up off the Jamaican channel on Sirius XM.
Nope. I thought you like. Do you really not recognize Saw Gerrera's voice?
Oh no! I recognize that.
I was worried about that.
And I
Mike. Did you not?
I obviously recognized our favorite president of baseball operations. What I didn't recognize was the musical interlude.
Yeah. Well, hey, looking at the dimensions of this ballpark, it's is this? I've kind of lost my bearings on hitter friendly, pitcher friendly, right? Because I know the elevation has a lot to do with it, the height of outfield walls. So you've got 330 down the lines, 385 to center, assuming the gaps are somewhere in between that, with 16-foot walls. Doesn't scream hitter friendly to me. But the Yankees and Red Sox played a 17-13 and a 12-8 game there, so maybe it is.
So, to maintain Ron's sanity and to continue this podcast, we'll be dropping the artifice now so that he doesn't completely lose his mind and pull his hair out. So,
yes.
Actually, I read something earlier this week. They moved the fences back since the last time because were so many home runs. Yeah.
But I'm reading this right? I'm like, okay, they're not putting it in meters, so I'm definitely not like reading it wrong. But 330 down the lines is a decent. That kind of feels a little average to me. I think the old Busch Stadium when they had the turf there was 335 down the lines, 385 to the gaps, and like 410 to center. That's a big park. I guess this didn't scream like, but the 16-foot walls on top of that. I guess I'm a little surprised. I'm like, that seems like. I'm not calling it Safeco Field, but I'm also not calling it, Minute Maid Park either.
I read that they were definitely trying to make it a little less hitter friendly than it was for Yankees-Red Sox because there were so many. But remember, that was 2-3 years ago.
Juice ball.
And there was juice ball.
Yeah.
So that 16-13, you have to take that into account as well.
Uh-huh.
So who knows?
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't think for 1 second about what the dimensions might be like there, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. From what I remember, maybe watching a second or two of the Red Sox and Yankees game was how far the dugouts were actually away from the playing field. It did seem a little bit odd. So we'll see if they've changed. I don't know how you can really change that. It probably is what it is. But and were those dugouts in ground or above ground? I don't remember.
No idea.
Yeah, how do you have a temporary dugout for a American baseball game that might be played there about once every 15 years? I guess they're going to do it every year now, but
right.
Okay. Well, sorry, UK fans that just want to catch a glimpse. If you've never been to a live baseball game, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, the rivalry's kind of dull right now. Nobody's at each other's throats because these teams, right as of right now, aren't at the top of the division. All the Cubs are creeping up. They've played a hell of a lot better lately. But the rivalry itself, the rivalry that we're sending over right now is very cold. The Cub fans really can't say anything to Cardinal fans to piss them off because the Cardinal fans have done a good enough job already pissing themselves off for like the last 4 months. So like even the friction between the two fan bases just isn't there. The Cardinals are like, they've lost the will to live. Most Cardinals fans have. So you can't really say anything to them right now. I mean, what else are you going to take? What else are you going to take away? Their kids? Might be the only kind of time you get a reaction out of them. But so we're sending you kind of a dull product over right now. And for those of you who have experienced live sports, say hockey, right? Hockey is still probably one of my favorite ones to watch live because it just really is nonstop, right? And the crowd's right on top of the rink, and it gets really loud, and it's awesome, especially playoff hockey. I don't think anything beats it. But so if you think an American baseball is going to have that kind of impact on you, like, oh, it seems really kind of, I don't know about this on TV. Maybe it's better live. I'm telling you right now.
Even with the new rules. It might be a little
with the new rules. It's not going to have
especially
the hockey effect. That's my point.
Especially because the Cubs have, I don't think you can argue it. They have their two best pitchers taking the mound this weekend. You got Marcus Stroman and then, you got Justin Steele and then Marcus Stroman. So, and Stro has been dealing of late. Mm-hmm. So you're probably not going to see a high scoring game.
No, and Michaelis, I guess his last start actually wasn't. Wait a minute, he's not pitching. Who is it? Is he pitching? Is he going game one? I think he is. Why not? I'll just be silent and check things out. That's always good radio.
Yeah, as behavior. We pause the game to see.
Wainwright.
While we're both, is it Wainwright? And
Wainwright
then
and Steele for the Cubs.
Yeah.
Stroman and Flaherty.
And then
on Sunday.
Okay. So, Ron, as I was trying to find that, I found something that I was completely unaware of, and I know that our more diehard listeners will be screaming at their podcast equipment at this exact moment. But do you know who has the longest winning streak in baseball right now? Don't look it up.
Come on! Cubs have won 3 in a row.
Yeah, they won 3 in a row. They are 8-2 in their last 10 games,
right.
But they don't have the longest winning streak in baseball right now.
A's?
I'll give you the second longest. Second longest winning streak in baseball right now is the Braves. They've won 8 in a row. But there's a team that has won 11 games in a row. And they're in first place in their division right now.
The Reds.
The Reds. The Cincinnati Reds have won 11 games in a row.
Hey, man, they look young and fiery. I'll give them, you got to give them credit, right? I mean, since they brought this kid up, it's, I'm not saying it's all him. I know a lot of people want to say, oh, this Elliott, what's his Dela Cruz?
This was all they needed.
It's all it, man. No.
It's because Joey Votto's
back, yeah. I think he homered in his first game, too. First game back after a while.
This has been, it's a terrible division, but this has been one wild ride of a first, 3 months of the season. You had the Pirates get out of the gate fast, and they were in first place for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And now the Reds are in first place. The Cubs and the Cardinals have been trash.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that it's just a matter of time before the Brewers finally fall apart and sell. Like, you could go place a bet in Vegas on any team and feel pretty confident that you have a 50-50 chance of it actually paying off.
I feel like
because I would not write the Cardinals off in this division. Any other division, AL Central, I'd write them off.
And that's the thing. I mean, like I've accepted that this team is bad, but I'm like, shit, even bad might get you, like, by August, they could be in the race. Maybe not a good chance, but in the race. I imagine if I could illustrate the Pirate season, though, it's like, I'm in one of those turnstile, like, hotel doors, and I'm going in, I'm sprinting to first place, and I just kept going, and now I'm going back to the back of the division, right? Like, that's, right. If I had to illustrate it, that's probably how most feel at this point.
Well, yeah, to have gone from first place to fourth in the blink of an eye, and to know that it's largely because of the Cubs.
Uh-huh.
Right? They played the Cubs 6 times over the last, I think it's 10 days, something like that. And they got swept in both series. That's embarrassing.
The Cardinals are just going up the escalator the wrong way, and they're still stuck at the bottom step. All right. They'll take 3 or 4
go up the down escalator.
They'll take 3 or 4.
Figure out why it is they're not making any progress.
Exactly. They'll trip a little bit and they'll be back at the bottom. I mean, that's just kind of like, hey, look, if you had to talk about it, that's probably what it is. I guess if I were the Cubs, I figured it out and I jumped over to the other escalator because I finally like, oh shit, wait, we're on the wrong one. Yeah, it is kind of a whack-a-mole of who's hot in the National League Central, right? Like, except there's been one consistency. St. Louis has been at the ass bottom of it now for a long time. I think they've probably been in last place. Yeah, no doubt. They've been in last place longer than anybody in the division.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah.
And also for most of the season. It's not just that they've been there.
Oh hell yeah, they've been back there
almost the entire
season. They've been back there since well into May, possibly even April. So,
and as much as we talk about how terrible the NL Central is, I mean, at least our first place team is over 500.
Sir,
because in the AL Central, the Twins managed to climb to 500 today.
Oh.
So they're at 500.
What is it about Midwest Midwest baseball?
They're 38-38, and they have a 16.5 game lead over the Kansas City.
Oh my God! Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, it's Midwest baseball. Yeah, what is it about Midwest baseball that it continues? The AL and NL Centrals easily over the last decade have had the weakest divisions in baseball. Right? You could argue who's worse a little bit, but what is it about the Midwest that is so poor, I guess? Or I guess two ways of looking at it. You say, hey, you know what? It's ultra competitive within division, and that's why these records have not, been like maybe a lopsided AL or NL East for years, or a lopsided Western. That maybe the Central's been a little bit more balanced, but that argument falls apart because of Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Not this year. I'm just saying, historically. So I don't know what it is about the Midwest.
Same thing with the AL Central. There's always one or two teams in the AL Central every year that are just trash. Yeah. A lot of times it's the Royals, but there's always one or two teams in both divisions that are just god awful, and it's not because the other teams are so good. You're right. And if you look at it from a 30,000-foot view, they should have advantages, right? They should have less travel than any other team. They're going to be the least affected by travel because at most they're only going to go
up through this year.
Two time zones.
Yeah, up through this year.
It should be an advantage.
Yeah. It should be. You still play, even though it's more balanced schedule, still not totally balanced. You're still playing most of your games against your division, but it is more balanced. So there is a little bit more travel at this point. But I don't know. Maybe Midwest baseball is just boring as shit. Nobody and they can't beat with the East West Coast guys. I'm kind of getting tired of that, right? Like, is that ever going to change, or is it just kind of going to be you're going to have both Central divisions just have their, more than their fair share of rudderless ships, like in Detroit, or right now it looks like St. Louis is heading down that path. It's like this division is made up of nothing but like Seattle Mariners, right? It's just teams. It's just all Seattle Mariners teams occupy both Central divisions. They're neither good nor bad, but they're nothing to talk about. So I don't know.
And it makes it difficult. And I know you know this. I'm preaching to the choir on this. It makes it difficult to talk about baseball, to talk about the rivalry when.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, the rivalry sucks when the teams are no good.
Yeah. It really does. The energy to, get excited about it. And I still don't know how. Maybe they're just young. But some of these podcasts we even work with, and you know how I feel about this shit, man. Like, I've got a life, and I'm not on Twitter all day long, or I'm not like looking up baseball news all day long. Maybe at times in my life I had done that, but that's probably way before I had kids and a job that was pretty demanding. I just don't know how that chat we're on, man. Like, all day, like either quotes or something people are putting in there, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what anybody does during the day, and maybe their job is every bit as busy as somebody else's. Maybe they just are in love with it. Those guys. None of those guys love baseball more than I do. Especially if you look at my whole history, nobody does, right? We've done this for almost 7 years. But right now it is tough when this rivalry isn't memorable. I guess shitty season like this is going to be memorable for a lot of people, especially for St. Louis fans. So don't get me wrong, but as far as the fun factor, I remember the fun season's the best, and this sure as hell isn't one of them.
Yep, and I never realized until this year just how much it hinges on one of the teams being competitive.
Yeah.
They don't both have to be at the top of the division, but one of the teams has to be competitive, because then you can shove it in the other guy's face. and there's nothing that you or I can shove in each other's face because it's the pot calling the kettle black.
And here's the problem. Here's what you Cub fans have been robbed of. Now, you haven't been robbed of it all because you're looking at it right now and you're like, it's about time you motherfuckers experienced a significant amount of time in the cellar, right? Ha ha. But follow me here. But they are so bad. Again, my point I made earlier, they're so bad. You really can't say anything to us to get it to like we've already
right. It's not even fun.
No, we've already jumped off the ledge, man. You can't say anything that's going to push us off. Like we're there. We're already at the bottom. We already maimed ourselves. We jumped off of a 2-story building, and all we did was fuck up our knees. We didn't even kill ourselves. So,
and you know what I think? What takes the edge off of it for Cubs fans also is that Arenado and Goldschmidt are still playing fairly well. I mean, Goldschmidt is Paul Goldschmidt, right? He's playing well, and so that takes a little bit of the edge off. It's like, God, their first baseman's good, and they still suck. So it's not even like I can ride them for their two big, theft trades
right.
for those falling apart. Those are still working out for them. And also, I think a big part of it too is that Yachty's gone, and that Wilson is failing so horribly that there's not the Schadenfreude. Right? Like if every once in a while he was playing well and he was being a thorn in the side, and then if he doesn't come up in a big spot, you're like, got it, stick it to you.
That's
Wilson.
what I'm saying. That's what the whole year's been like for the team as a whole, right? Like they're so bad. There's really nothing to make fun of at this point. Like
nope, there's nothing to celebrate.
So you've been robbed. The 1 year that they're the 1 year that they're at the bottom, they're so at the bottom. You can't point out the obvious anymore. You can't even make humor out of it.
And we're not even good enough like we were in 2016 to where it's like, oh, you're bad. I'm sorry. I forgot. We're 20 games over 500, right? Like that was one of the incredible things about 2016 is they got out of the gate so fast and they were so good all year that you kind of forgot about the rest of the league because
I think
they were phenomenal. And we don't even get to do that. You guys are terrible, and we don't even get to pretend like we're not paying attention because our team's so good. Our team has been so up and down that you try to take solace in the Cardinals being bad, but that doesn't even help because it still doesn't make it any better that our team doesn't have a legitimate first or third baseman.
Right. It's a strange place, isn't it?
It is.
Can't even revel in the other's failure.
Feel like that meme. Do something. One of these teams, please be good or be really, really horribly bad.
Yeah. Who thought it would be this way? I didn't.
I know.
I thought they would at least, it wouldn't have surprised me, Pete, if we said we got into, near July and, the Cubs would be a few games, maybe call it 5 games under 500 and say, yeah, it's probably about right.
Yeah.
You'd say the Cardinals would at least be like 3-4 games over 500, maybe trailing the Brewers, right? And I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's probably about right. It is so wildly different than how I thought this would be. Like, Cubs are probably right record-wise. Okay. I buy it. I don't know. I feel like I'm saying this shit every week. It's fun.
And also, I think there's a little bit of confusion of, wait, are the Pirates and the Reds actually good? Because I don't know if they are.
I don't know either, man. It's a hot streak,
week and a half would argue that the Pirates are not good.
Exactly. I think, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised that we're looking at this later in the year and going, both of those teams, they played about 500, but both of them experienced hot streaks that put them above that. And we kind of got this mirage of, hey, this is the division goes through now Ohio.
Well, and that's the thing. This may be a preview of what's to come.
Mm-hmm.
That we may have to start taking them seriously in the next couple of years.
I don't really want to.
Probably not. Their ownership will trade them off. It's okay. Ron.
The last time I had to take the Reds seriously, Johnny Cueto kicked Jason LaRue in the back of the head with metal cleats, and he ended his career in a brawl in Cincinnati. They won the division that year. I couldn't even stay hateful towards the Reds because they were so bad for so long that I kind of forgot all about that. But yeah, I'm not quite there.
Speaking of the Reds being competitive and everything, actually, we just passed. I don't know if you're aware of this, but we just passed the 20th anniversary. It was earlier this week, 20th anniversary of Kyle Farnsworth playing linebacker. And planting Paul Wilson.
Wilson, yep.
So there's that.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a neighbor across the street, right? You see where I'm going with this. You see him when he's over on his property, his sidewalk, his porch. He looks just like a normal guy, really friendly. The closer you get to him, the bigger you realize he is. And you're like, Jesus Christ, this person could beat me to death in about 90 seconds. And I'm just wondering if Paul Wilson didn't get that same vibe from Farnsworth. And the closer he got to him, was like, oh shit. There's, that the one short video is always out there on TikTok that goes, and this is when he knew he fucked up. When he got like within, 10 feet, he's like, uh-oh, man, that dude's built.
Abort.
Right.
We make references to this, right? And I'm sure that you probably do the same with Robin Ventura and Nolan Ryan. I wonder how many of these young baseball fans have any idea what it is that we're talking about.
Yeah, maybe not. But go back and look at it. You can go all over Twitter right now, or you can go onto YouTube and you can look up Farnsworth takes down Paul Wilson, Cubs Pirates, or something like that. You'll see it. You have to, if you haven't seen it. To Pete's point, if you haven't seen Nolan Ryan for the Texas Rangers beat knots in the top of Robin Ventura's head as he played for the White Sox, it's something that before you die, add it to your bucket list. You can add it towards the back if you want. But it's something you have to see.
Another one definitely to check out. I mean, clearly this is our favorite fights episode, so I think we can just go through them.
The London series ain't that worth talking about, right? So
Michael Barrett and AJ Pierzynski going at it. That was a good one.
That's a good one. I cannot remember. I'm not going to remember the player. Is it Jose Offerman that turned around and kicked the catcher?
Yes, I think it was. Yeah,
in a minor league game, though. Right.
Mound.
Former major league. He got thrown at, right, and then turned around and he cleated the catcher and then charged the mound.
I'm going to get a free shot at your pitcher, but first I got to take you out.
You're the one who called it. Last one that I remember that I thoroughly enjoyed. Well, actually, shit, now that I'm thinking about it, the ball's rolling. But I think Will Clark and Ozzie Smith trading punches at second base in St. Louis in the late 80s was pretty classic. And then, of course, I don't know what to think about Pedro Martinez grabbing Don Zimmer by the head and taking him down to the ground. That's a good one too.
He could have ended his life. I think that's the thing about that is that when you saw that video, there was a little bit of concern for Don Zimmer's life, right? Because he was already, I think, in his 80s.
And it's not like, and if you go back and watch it too, it's almost like, the Matador, just getting out of the way of the bull and just kind of guiding him away. It's almost like Pedro just kind of like took the momentum of Don Zimmer's big old grape and just redirected it towards the ground. Like he really didn't shove him. He just kind of took that head and just guided it to the ground. But yes, he was in his 80s though, right? Or late 70s. Yeah.
Or Don was an old man.
He was up there. But Pedro didn't really show any remorse over that. I guess it was funny. The last one, I think it was a surprise. So if you've ever seen a picture of Stubby Clapp, I mean, the guy's like probably 5'4", right? 5'6" at best, probably standing on stilettos. His takedown of Pete Alonso last year is still, it's still a recent classic. You'll have to go look at this one too. Little bit of a scuffle. Right. I wouldn't really call it a benches clearing brawl. A little bit of a scuffle, but he got taken down by Stubby Clapp. Pretty good.
So Don was just showing you how old Don looked. Don was only 72. That was in 2003.
But he looked like he was 98.
He looks like, yeah. And he only made it to 83. So, but boy, Don looked like he was in his 70s when he managed the Cubs in the 80s.
Isn't that amazing? You look at some of those baseball cards of guys, even in the early 80s. Was it the hairdo, the mustache? Not really sure, but there's some of those guys that look like they should have been coaches. And you look and you're like, oh, this is a card from when he was 23 years old. You're like, get out of here. I never looked like that at 23. I looked 23, I think, at 23.
Yep. Well, I think that probably in the grand scheme of things, we probably looked, if you looked at 23-year-olds through time, we looked a hell of a lot younger at 23 than most 23-year-olds who preceded us did. Life's a hell of a lot easier now than it was.
Stay a child longer.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm pretty sure Don served in the military during World War II, so
that'd do it.
That would age you.
I guess Vietnam War for some of these late 70s, early 80s guys would have maybe aged a few of them a little quicker too. But I think it's the stash that had a little bit more to do with that, though. That's just my
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't know we were gonna get in the brawl conversation, but I'm glad we brought it up. So kids out there, young ones, go search those, especially the first ones we talked about.
Yeah, go down that rabbit hole. Just check out the ones that we named, and pretty soon the algorithm will adjust.
Yeah.
It'll take you on a wild ride. Because we really don't see that really all that much in baseball anymore. You don't see the brawl. You know, the guys
everybody knows each other now
so much.
Yeah, everybody knows each other now.
And it just ends up being a lot of pushing and shoving. There's never.
Yeah. Good old fashioned. I'm going to cleat your skull.
I still think my favorite one is Robin Ventura and Ryan.
By far. Yeah,
right? Because you see Robin contemplate it, and then he makes the decision to charge, and the old man's just like, kid, you're about to get a lesson.
Yeah, and that is now that we're close to Ryan's age at that time, right? Because he was in his mid 40s at that point.
He was.
That's a little bit of a win for you getting this age. Like, okay, young 20-something, we think it's your time now, but I still got a night left, so come on out here.
You're about to learn exactly what they mean by young, dumb, and full of cum.
I love that you can buy a still of that's autographed. Like, just go onto eBay and look at it. I love that those guys have attended like events or card shows, and both of them people have signatures from both of them on that image. If you go onto eBay and look,
really ultimately like the big one on that is Robin Ventura being good natured enough to be like, yeah, I
don't know how to pull up any quotes.
I got my ass.
I haven't researched it, but I'm wondering, like, as he looks back on that, Pete, I bet he doesn't regret doing that because it's so memorable.
Oh yeah, it's a Hall of Fame highlight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Let's do. Here we go. Yes, Robin Ventura remembers that one-sided fight with Nolan Ryan, and he can laugh about it.
Okay, well, good for him.
Yep. Some things don't work out for you, I guess, Ventura said with the chuckle on when he was inducted into the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah. What else we got?
Let's see. Yeah, he hears about it. His players who depended on Ventura to write their name on the lineup card would bust Ventura for that dubious night, even when he was the White Sox manager. And then he just talks about managing and everything. But yeah, he says, you believe it. You never let it go and you still remember it. So
here we go. You can get for about $300, you can get that image autographed on eBay with the certification and everything. Can I share my screen on this contraption? I think I can, right?
Should be able to.
Yeah, hang on a sec. Hang on. Let me put the video on. I know this is great, right? Like, this is great.
Yeah, especially because people who are listening to it
can't see it. And I refuse to do,
Of course.
I refuse to do well, you know what? I'm not going to dig with it. But, there it is. Never mind. Not going to figure it out here. I'm using Wirecast. I didn't like Zoom. But anyway, yeah, for $300, you can buy an autographed photograph, autographed by both Nolan Ryan and Robin Ventura. Interesting. Yeah. I'd get to drop a little bit. I don't think I'd pay $300 for it. $150. I'd probably do that. And if I owned a bar, it would go right up there behind the bar. As a reminder to the young punks.
Right.
Have you seen the documentary Facing Nolan? This didn't come up on there, I don't think, but have you seen that
I would
documentary
find
on
it
Netflix?
hard. I haven't seen it, but I would find it hard to believe that they didn't at least put it in there.
It might be. Maybe I'm just not remembering it. But yeah, it's good if you haven't checked it out. He's actually in it a lot, talking. Looking back on his career, he's a rancher now. He buys cattle. Kind of went right back to what he was doing before life in baseball took over. So it's an interesting story. His life starting as an Angel, and then starting as a Met, going to the Angels, and then as it progressed to where he finally ended his playing days with the Rangers. But what just a physical freak of nature. Most would say, well, this is just hard-nosed players from that era. But the way he held up for as late as in his career as he went, I mean, he was just a physical specimen that you just don't see it in baseball anymore. You don't see guys like that anymore.
No, you're right. Yeah. And if you look online and you look at Nolan Ryan's accounts of it, he was feeling it physically, his age. Right. Yep. And so he says he was actually a little taken aback when Robin Ventura started to charge the mound, because he was like, I might get hurt, but I'm about to teach somebody a lesson.
I'm about to wrangle you. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, wow. I don't have anything more to say about the Cardinals and Cubs. And, I know we've had some other things on here that we could discuss, but we can't do it right now. Elliott's not here. Plus, you're not a subscriber. So we've kind of dropped that part of our show. I'm going to have to alter the intro music again, aren't I?
I don't know.
We agree that we're going to talk about the one big thing on here, the two big things we all love, baseball and Star Wars. And Pete has run a boycott. Are you at a year yet? Or it was post Obi-Wan, right?
No, it'll be November, because I missed, what was it, the last two episodes of Andor, I think.
Feels like it's been 6 years. You missed the last two of Andor.
Well, we can talk about the fact that they've actually announced dates on movies. I still don't think that most of them are going to get made, but at least they have dates this time instead of just directors and concepts.
But boy, I tell you what, though, I'm so jaded on all that announcement stuff that
I know.
I'm still almost
especially when it comes out of Kathy Kennedy's mouth.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you think about all of the projects that she's announced at the various celebrations and D23s and everything, and they've just gone away. I'm sure you've heard the rumor that Acolyte, not that I was ever going to watch it anyway, but that Acolyte's done. That the showrunner who was in charge of that has been, I think she was fired. She's gone from Disney.
They had the whole
and
cast
Acolyte was her project.
Done.
And nothing, it's not been canceled. It's just one of those things where we're never going to talk about it.
Rogue
anymore.
Squadron and what else? The Boba Fett project before it became I mean, it's just there's
Benny
been too many.
Weiss.
Yep. There's been
Benny
too many of
Weiss,
these. And we've heard of Rian Johnson was going to get a trilogy. That's not a thing anymore. David Lindelof was doing a picture. That's not a thing. It's just, maybe they should just stop talking about it. I know they got to report to investors and get them excited about things, but gosh, you do this too many times, right?
Yeah. If I'm an investor and they keep telling me that they're coming up with new Star Wars content and they keep not delivering, that's not exactly a vote of confidence.
Yeah. And I'm wondering too, neither of us are Hollywood insiders, but is this always been a common thing with companies like this?
No.
But you just hear about it more now. I mean, I have no idea. No, you're saying no? You probably know more than me about that. But anyway,
no, you usually don't announce a project the way that they've announced these, right? It might make it in the trades that that Leonardo DiCaprio has signed on for the new for the new Paul Thomas Anderson film. But that's all you'll see in Variety or in Hollywood Reporter or whatever is just that's happened. But you're not going to have some big announcement at a shareholders meeting saying that, that you've got this and this is what the project is. You usually don't get that.
Yeah.
So this is unusual.
Yeah. Well, and if anything, it's that's why even when it comes from a Disney shareholder meeting or a D23 or a Star Wars celebration, Pete, it almost feels like I might as well be reading the National Enquirer, even if it comes from them. It's like I'm not I'm not buying it yet until I start seeing stills and advertisements. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. If they bothered to shoot it, they're probably going to put it out there, right? Because they're going to want to get their ROI on whatever they're going to do. So the Ahsoka series is happening. I don't know if you've watched any trailers or anything from that one. A lot of Rebels content is going in there, right? It almost looks like, it's a Filoni thing. He's going to put, he's done that, and you saw it in Mandalorian, how much of the Clone Wars live action, Clone Wars transformed into live action came from Clone Wars into the Mandalorian, hell, even into Boba Fett in terms of like guys like characters like Cad Bane. It is really, really interesting to see that. I knew Ahsoka series was going to happen. I didn't know how much Rebels would be brought into this, and it's actually going to be quite a bit.
Yeah. This is, from what I've seen and read, this is going to be it sounds like it's going to be the epilogue of Rebels, right? Because that story was very much left unfinished when that series wrapped. And it kind of sounds like this is going to tie up those loose ends.
I'd say I appreciated the way that series wrapped, but it left it open enough to where it wasn't such a definitive ending, kind of like Return of the Jedi was, right? Where you knew adventures could happen beyond that, but that story, what happened there for that point in time, was tied up pretty nice until they did the sequel trilogy and fucked it up. But at least, for a long time, we had that ending, and that felt pretty satisfying. I was pretty satisfied with the way Rebels ended, of course. I knew at some point in time, in some genre, whether it was book or something, that we were going to figure out or be told the story of what happened to him. And I'm glad, I'm really kind of glad it's being done this way with a character who I think all of us have started off despising, but then have grown to love at this point, and that would be the character of Ahsoka Tano. So this is another series I'm looking forward to, but unlike the Obi-Wan, I'm going into it, I think, on even keel, right? What I've seen looks pretty cool, but from what I saw in Obi-Wan, and just the thought of an Obi-Wan series sounded pretty cool, and I left it. I guess it underwhelmed me, say, for how the Obi-Wan series ended. I enjoyed the ending, but the rest of it was kind of shit. And it sure would be nice if they're gonna throw an Inquisitor into this one too. Can the Inquisitors actually do something?
Yeah, and be dangerous.
Like, even on Rebels, they were kind of a joke.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, yeah, the one Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor, was threatening and was good in Rebels and was a worthy adversary. But then once he died, after that, they kind of they weren't nearly as threatening.
Mm-hmm. Well, you couldn't put Vader and everything, so you needed something else.
Exactly.
It couldn't turn into an Inspector Gadget series where the evil guy's always like screaming at the end, "You damn kids," or sorry, I was thinking more like Scooby-Doo, but
you had to have something. Claw, you always got
Dr.
the claw at the end of the
yeah.
show.
All right.
Yep.
Enough of that. We're at our hour.
We are.
We'll see how much of this London series I actually catch or bother to watch, and we can catch up with our occasional guest host maybe next week if he
maybe
doesn't plan on something.
I think there's a good chance that I will catch Saturday's game. I would say that Sunday's game is up in the air.
Oh.
And we'll leave it at that.
All right. I can leave it up in the air.
All right. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to comment and subscribe. And if you want to help spread the word, please do give us a 5-star review and tell your friends to do the same. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts, as well as Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. Be sure to check out the other Gateway City Sports Network podcasts, including the Derek King Sports Show. That's a winner podcast, talking sports in the bleachers with Don Glenn, and 2 for 3 with Moose Michaels. There may be 2 or 3 others. We don't know. You can find Elliott on Twitter at @TOR_Elliott, or cowering in a corner, hiding from his guests. And you can find Ron at
TOR_Ron75. The other podcast mentions that's a winner podcast. That's pretty good. Maybe you said that one and I just didn't hear.
You just didn't hear it.
I wasn't paying attention. Was my mouth open? Generally, my mouth is open. I'm not listening. Okay.
Get in touch with us at the show at teamofrivalspodcast.com or on any social media channel at Team of Rivals Pod. Ron, it's been magical. I look forward to talking with you again next week.
All right, same here, buddy. Thanks for taking us out, Pete. We'll see about this London baseball, and we'll see about next week. And the question will be not whether this series is interesting or not. It'll be whether we get all three of us back on here next week. We broke our streak of one. So we'll see. We'll have to start an all new one. But until then, love you all so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Quit calling this number. Thank you.
Top to crack 50.
Quit calling this number. Thank you.